to everyone joining online. My name is Rachel. I am a former student of DRBU. I did the master's program and now I am staff. I just wanted to keep hanging around here because I love it so much. For those of you who are joining an event hosted by Dharma Buddhist University for the first time, we are a small liberal arts university located in the hills of Northern California. And there are a lot of things that make this little university quite unique in the world of higher education. And a couple of my favorites are the fact that our founders wanted education to be something that created more freedom instead of burden. So all of our students graduate debt-free. Our financial aid department works with each and every one of them to make sure that that is a possibility. And another thing that is really unique about this university and quite special is that the mission of DRBU is twofold. It's to convey wisdom and to what we call activate inherent wisdom. So there's this belief and this recognition, really, that every human being possesses this heart, this center of deep knowing, and that it's just as important to learn about our world as it is to really connect with that deep inner knowing and learn to live from that place of stability and peace. And in spirit of that mission, we're very honored to host Jo-ann Rosen today, whose work has really been an embodiment of that mission as well. She is a retired psychotherapist and a current Dharma teacher. She has been doing both of those things for a good deal of time. And today is an author. She wrote Unshakeable, Trauma-Informed Mindfulness for Collective Awakening a few years ago now. And she continues to offer workshops like these and classes online. She has a 16-part class that really dives into the book. And she also offers retreats. So we're really, really happy she could join us today and to share some of the wisdom that she has collected over her many years of practice. Thank you, Jo-ann, for being here.
Thanks, Rachel. And thank you for those of you who have come to do the meditation. Well, I think there's a little bit of feedback or echo. Yeah. Good? I'll keep talking. So I do offer a number of ways to delve into this information or learnings that create a connection between Buddhist psychology and neuroscience and trauma-informed practice. And I am not an individual doing this. I am part of a lineage of the Venerable Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh. And so I do this with a group. And it's really important to work as a group because nobody holds it all together, at least nobody I know of. And so with Sangha eyes, with the eyes of a community, we can really do much more in terms of alleviating suffering and creating liberation. So with that, really the talk is the meditation, or the meditation is the talk today. So to invite you to join in whatever way makes you feel stable and more inclined towards liberation. That one size does not fit all. We have fingers pointing to the moon, but we each have a path to be looking up there that's quite individual. So if I say something that feels like, this is not a part of my practice, adapt it, or let it flow off so that you can take in whatever it is and stay open. And not only open to what I'm saying, but open to what Rachel was referring to as that knowing inside of yourself. So this is a practice in receiving and discerning. So I'll start with 3 sounds of the bell, and then we'll have a guided meditation for maybe 20 minutes. We'll gently touch on a number of the experiences that I came to present, so that you have a felt sense first, and we can get our minds going around it later. And in my tradition, the aim is to really help the nervous system stay settled, because that is when you have access to your mindfulness. So we start not with just the sound of the bell, but with a very gentle wake up. It allows you to know what's coming and prepare yourself to breathe in the beautiful sound of the bell, if you find it beautiful. So let's begin by finding a posture that works for you, that allows you to have an optimum balance between being alert and being relaxed. So we sit upright if that feels like it helps you be alert. And eyes can be open or closed. If you close your eyes and you find yourself feeling drowsy, you can open them just a little. If your eyes are open, do it in a way that's not distracting. A gentle gaze to something that's like the floor. And if you don't know which is better for you, experiment. We're going to keep noticing how what we do manifests in our bodies. And if you're noticing sounds, rather than being distracted, just notice them as like little instruments, just the tone. And then you might notice, where do you feel, or do you feel solid and grounded? Where is your body being held up by the chair or the cushion? Where do you find support right now? Are your hands supporting each other? Are your feet helping you feel grounded? What supports your back? If you're finding something supportive, just allow your attention to dwell there. Allows the nervous system to get the message, I'm supported, I'm grounded, I'm solid. And then you might find it helpful to take a deep breath in and allow the exhale to be long and slow and thorough. And this may also signal your nervous system, it's okay. We can relax for just a moment. So just noticing what happens when you breathe, when you attend to a long, slow breath. Many traditions will encourage you to just follow the breath. So simple, so relaxing. And yet for some, following the breath is actually dysregulating to the nervous system. So we need to notice that. And we find some small thing that we can do with our minds to help it rest, to give it a tiny job so it doesn't have to be busy doing other things. It might be the breath. It might be a candle flame or a part of the body that feels like it's solid. This anchors the mind. It can allow other things to float away. So finding the anchor that's right for you, just dwell there. Just pick one thing and stay with it with your attention. And as you do this, you're invited to notice, how is this affecting my body? How is my breath? Is it getting longer or shorter or deeper? More ease? what's happening in my chest. Can I feel the heartbeat? Can I feel the movement of my body with my breath? Perhaps like a gentle wave on a lake or an ocean. And slowly scanning through the body for some place of well-being. It can be the well-being of relaxation, of pleasant sensation, of lack of pain, just in one part, of ease, or even that it doesn't hurt as much as it used to, or it's healing. Just allowing the attention of the mind to rest on something in the body that's supportive. And noticing how this attention to well-being affects the rest of the body. And then you're invited to bring to mind something that creates a sense of well-being of the mind. It might be a respected teacher, a chant, a family member or a pet, a beautiful scene, an experience that you've had of well-being. Well-being can have so many flavors of safety, of care, gratitude, and generosity, of compassion. Just pick one thing as small as a blade of grass growing up through a crack in the cement. Just bring it to mind with vivid detail. What do you see in your mind's eye? What's happening? What do you tell yourself about this? What makes this sense of well-being vibrant for you? And as you're focusing on this sense of well-being, where do you notice it in the body? Maybe there's a word that comes to mind or a gesture. Maybe you notice that it is most prominent in your body in a certain place that you might just put a hand on that part. And just notice what the hand and the body do together. Maybe nothing, maybe something. We're gladdening the mind along with gladdening the body. That can support being open to life just as it is in this moment. Noticing anywhere that you feel solid at the same time as this sense of well-being. We'll take another several breaths just in stillness. And then you'll hear the sound of the bell. So listen to your body. You may want to move it around a little bit or wake it up. Whoops. So that's a little taste of neuro-informed mindfulness. The Anapanasati Sutra, a sutra that focuses on the awareness of breathing. uses a very interesting trajectory of 16 exercises that turn out to be almost identical to the most effective trauma healing that our modern Western psychological prowess has discovered 2,600 years later. It's very, we give a big pat on the back to the Buddha for being such an incredible psychologist and neuroscientist. But actually, the nervous system that we have inherited from a very long line of lineage from the amoeba on up, we have pretty much the identical nervous system of our hunter-gatherer ancestors. And that nervous system evolved to make us survive long enough to procreate and protect our babies. And in the meantime, human beings have created advancements in the way we live. And our nervous systems have not kept up with the advancements. So we eat in a way that we weren't intended. We have a pace of life that we're not prepared for. And then we think there's something wrong with us. And in fact, perhaps what's wrong with us is the way we've chosen to live. And it's very complicated. We have things that impinge on us, like our genetics and our environment, our geography, our cultures, our variety of situations that are come too much, too fast, too soon, or too little, too long. We suffer wars and famines and floods and disease, and our nervous system just can't keep up. If we look at the nervous system in a very, very, very simplistic way, if you just put your hand up like this, and this is your head, and that's your face, and we have basically three parts to the nervous system. We have the part that's going automatically, our lungs, our heart, our digestion. We don't know how to work those things on purpose, but they go on whether we're sleeping or we're awake. And they can go very fast or they can go very slow, depending upon what's called for in the environment. And then we have what we think of as our brain. It's our thinking brain, the part that is doing the, quote, executive functioning, although we didn't have any executives probably when we were hunter-gatherers. But this part is responsible for our interactions with each other, our problem solving, our language, our creativity, our ability to communicate what we think is very accurately. And then we have a part that is constantly scanning the environment for, are we safe or are we in threat? And that's deep inside the brain. And so this is the emotional brain, the part that is letting you know whether you're in threat and you need to either fight or run away, or if things are too overwhelming and you're about to burst your lungs, they make you fall to the ground in a freeze mode. And that's very, very simplified. But the idea is that when we are threatened, or when we perceive that we are threatened, like when you are stopped at a red light and you're late for an appointment, then you think you're going to be killed. You're going to die. Such an incredible misperception. And we know that without mindfulness, almost everything we see is a misperception. At best, it's a prediction on what we've been ruminating with by ourselves, and then we project it out there. So the idea of this is we learn from the signals in our bodies when we're still in meditation. And something comes up and we go, oh, my mind just created that. And you learn about your nervous system not only to know what's going on in there, but how to adapt it so that when you see that there's a misperception, you can re-regulate your body. You know, when we learn to drive a car, we first learn the mechanics of the car, and then we do a little practice driving, and we learn the laws of the traffic so that we can be safe when we navigate this car. But we're given a nervous system that we're expected to navigate when we're babies, and we don't have a user manual. Sometimes we don't even have a good teacher to help us understand what's happening inside. So this is a chance to get to know our nervous system, to learn how to read it, and how to practice, like in the parking lot, of how to navigate it, so that when we go out into the traffic, we've got a little bit of experience. That's meditation. So I put my notes down here on the floor to remind me what I want to talk about. Boop. So this is a little snapshot of our nervous system in any one moment. You can see inside in the green is when we're completely relaxed, when we feel safe, when we feel supported, when we feel competent. And this is where we think we ought to be all the time. And it's also where we think meditation will take us, undoubtedly, if we do it right. Well, so there's one misperception. Then there's the yellow, which is a zone of, including the green, where we can be mindful, where we feel our nervous system is balanced, being alert, but not hyper alert, and being relaxed enough to be able to see things as they are made. We're not hyper focusing as we do in the red. In the red zone, we might be very, very, very activated, high energy, because we feel threatened, either physically or emotionally or even spiritually. And when we feel that threat, we hyper-focus on whatever is around us that shows us what is dangerous. But we forget that there's a lot more going on than just what's in that hyper-focus. So we skew our vision and we begin to snowball of getting more and more and more anxious. And then there are times when it's just too much and we begin to numb out or we disconnect from whatever is too much. And we begin to have a fuzzy mind. Our mind up here is racing. Our mind down here is very sluggish. We might even fall asleep. Come on in and sit down. So the idea is, one, we have to get in touch. We have to get in touch with the signals in our body that tell us what's going on in our nervous system. And then if it's too much, we learn what kinds of practices will help balance out that nervous system. And the ideal is to be able to bring ourselves into that green for support, for respite, for refuge when it's needed, and then to go out into the yellow and live our lives and be able to receive with equanimity whatever is happening so that we can make wise decisions, so that we can make wise action. So that yellow zone is the place where you have right view, where you develop right thinking, so that you can go on to right action. And certainly our world is in big need of those who have right view and can turn it into right action or wise action. So, when we are running on overwhelm, our ability to have a lot of equanimity in this yellow zone shrinks. And it's like when you're super stressed out, everything pushes your buttons. And it can push you into the red, either too high or too low. But as we learn to regulate our bodies, our nervous systems, we can stretch that zone of mindfulness or that zone of well-being enough so that we can encounter more and more difficult situations with a calm mind and greet it with gratitude and curiosity. So, good. Here's another little diagram. This is from our teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh. This is our consciousness. And our consciousness has two parts. Have a seat, come on. There's a prime seat right there. This is what we're aware of, our mind consciousness. And in our mind consciousness, ideally, we can tell when we're in a wholesome state or when some unwholesome state like rage or bigotry or disgust or terror or unrelenting grief come up. And ideally, we are resilient enough to say, grief, rage, I know you're there. I'm going to feel you, and then I'm going to focus on my feet, because right now my feet are solid. And that surrounds that ill being with some strength to just be with it, to focus on the feet, to maybe breathe deeply, or whatever you know of your practices that help you ground. Not to just get rid of it, but to interface with the world in a way that's beneficial, that's powerful. But when we're racing all the time, we don't have the mindfulness to notice and to surround those states of ill-being with some wise action. So our practice of Buddhist psychology is to make sure, I didn't mention, you see these little black dots in the bottom? Those are our store consciousness. Those are all the mental formations that we inherit from our parents, from our culture, from our primate evolution. And we water them with the way we act in the world. So we're watering the seeds, we're cultivating the seeds of goodness, of right livelihood, of right action, of right speech, so that these, when we touch them, they manifest into the world as well-being for ourselves, and it emanates out to others. But we also are in the habit of watering the more unwholesome mental formations. And that makes those more likely to manifest in our mind consciousness and in our actions. So our job is, one, water these seeds so that they come up and they're a refuge when you need them. And it makes it more available to have this wonderful yellow curiosity surround these seeds when they come up. And when you surround them that way, they go back down a little less powerful. So when you've been able to sit with your anger, notice what it's made of. Maybe it's made of some egregious interaction that someone has made assumptions about you. And you feel it, and then you balance it out with some breath or some part of the body, or even the image of someone who's got your back. And then you can breathe it out and let it go down, and then something occurs to you. Now I know what to do to step into this. So this is our practice. This is our Buddhist practice of knowing when you have the capacity, you do this. And when you don't have the capacity, you do this. You build up your repertoire of well-being. You walk down the street, and instead of looking for a face that's grumpy, you just start to collect smiles. Or you just think, I'll smile at this person and see what happens. And it becomes contagious. And you build your emotional immunity. So, I'm going to suggest that we do a little experiment. And here's a situation where you have to discern whether you have the capacity to do it. And perhaps you have no capacity this morning, and you just need to sit there and breathe, or sit there and relax your mind. But in a moment, I'm going to invite you to get up and to experiment with a number of little pictures that are around the walls, and they're each geared towards regulating the nervous system when it's really out of whack. The guided meditation we did is to build up when you're feeling pretty good, to build up your capacity to water those wholesome seeds so that you can go back to them if something pushes your buttons and makes your nervous system dysregulated. Ah, yes, I didn't show this. So this is kind of a picture of our day. We might start out over here, low energy, but kind of good enough. You can still kind of in the yellow. And then that first bump might be for some people their cup of coffee or tea in the morning. They get a little bit more energized, and then maybe that wears off and they slump a little, and then they gear up to do something else. And then maybe they're getting a little nervous that they're not going to perform so well in the day up here. Or maybe this up here is you ran into 3 people that you just adore, and your energy gets pumped up with that. And then maybe something happens and the presentation doesn't go as well, and so oh gee, and then you start thinking, oh, I'm never going to do it, and I'm always like this, and then you go down here. And so you're going like this all day long, and going up or down is your energy level. It could be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, right? It could be really happy up here, or it could be really, but sometimes when you get overloaded with happiness, you can also kind of like get too excited and carried away. So this is not about good and bad. This is just about your energy and your nervous system regulation. And then something comes along and it's just like it knocks your socks off. You just, you're bumping around so that you don't kind of have control of yourself. First you're really high, and then things happen and you're exhausted and overwhelmed. So that's when these things come into practice. So I'm going to ask you to try each one of these things out in a very particular way. So this one over here is wrapping yourself up, and next to the monk is a couple of shawls, And you can go over there and sit down after the monk gets up and wrap yourself in the shawl and see what it does. And then over there, that one kind of, it interrupts the mind that's going like this a mile a minute, is just to like start with the number 20 or 100, depending upon how mathematically inclined you are, and count backwards by threes. 20, 17, 14, 11, like that, right? And if that is not enough, you can try doing it while you walk backwards. It's something to interrupt your mind that's so simple. Because the guided meditation we did is fairly sophisticated. It rests on having a little bit of control over your attention. But these things are where your attention has really gone haywire. So that one over there says, just listen to the sounds. And that one, right behind us, that one is push on the wall so hard that you think you're going to move the wall back even a quarter of an inch. All right? And then the next one is look around the room for one specific color, like red. Okay, red, red, red. Then that one way over there is, you'll have to find a wall, to lean against the wall as if you're sitting in a chair, but there's no chair. All right? So you're just sitting in the chair and feel the support of the wall. And then way over there is one where you name one shape. You pick out a shape. Okay, I'm going to pick out circle. There's circles on her shoe. There's circle lights. There's circle that, and just keep on looking at those circles, and then you notice each time that you do one of those things, what is the impact on my body? Right? Then around the corner, there's water, and you can just take a water, and if you want, either way, it's going to be a waste. You're going to open the plastic bottle. If you want to save plastic, then you pour it into the paper cup. That's a little more recyclable. And drink. And just notice what happens with the whole process. Notice what happens in the body. That one, at the end of this table, is going and feeling textures, whether it's the texture of your clothing or the wall or the rug. Just feel into the texture. And then that one over there is feel into the temperature. I think that's all of them. But here's how we're going to do it. And this is where understanding your capacity is important. I'm going to ask you to bring up a difficulty in your mind. I don't want you to pick the worst thing that's happening to you or in the world at this moment. But it has to be enough to feel it. And it may be that you're just living on the edge right now. So don't do it. Or maybe just do the ones that feel like they're going to be really soothing to you. But first, I want you to pick a difficulty that's active in your life right now. Not too big and not too little. And to get in touch with what is going on with that difficulty in you. And each time you go to one of these stations, you bring up the difficulty first and then do it and notice the impact. So you have to get in touch with the difficulty in your body or in your mental image that works that way too. And just notice as you go around what happens. And when you've done all that, come and sit back down. There's no order of when you should do which one. And there's a number of you here, so like spread out. And we'll have 15 minutes. Let's see, 10, 30. We'll have 15 minutes to do that. And if you will please do it silently so that everybody can really focus on their thing. Don't feel like you must do every one, but stretch yourself a little. Be curious. What can happen? So what are the questions before we start that? Pardon? Right. Do you have a question about that?
What should I do first?
First, you notice the difficulty. Feel how it manifests in your body. Then pick out something. Go, okay, difficulty. I didn't notice anything. Okay, go to the next one. Then you're walking backwards and you're doing your counting after you touch the difficulty. Difficulty, 20, 17, 14. Yeah, that's better. Okay, now the next one. Okay, that's what we do. Yes.
What should the people online do?
Thank you for that reminder. So for you online, I will give you about a minute to try each one that I tell you about. Okay, how's that? So you might need to access some blanket to wrap yourself with and a glass of water. But other than that, I think you'll be able to follow along. Okay? Good. Thanks, Rachel. Okay. Silently go out. And don't listen to my voice. Is there some way that it cannot be projected into the room and still be projected to folks at home? The first thing. I just turned off the mic. Does that work? But can the people at home hear me? Okay. Is there any way I can talk to them without
Yeah, let me see. Oh, actually, I think they're still on. Give me a second. Give me a second. Because I'm doing more about. Yeah.
about your response to this difficulty. And for those of you who are willing to join a threesome, we'll give you a couple of minutes a person to share with each other what your experience has been like so far, either with the guided meditation or with the emergency relief exercises on the wall. This is to give you a chance to be in touch with your own experience, to share it, to hear what others' experience is. That's not amenable to everybody, so do it if you are curious what it's like. If you are not wanting to do that, that's acceptable. We'll have like 3 minutes a person. So that's plenty of time to share or not. You don't have to be talking the whole time. Would appreciate it if no one interrupts you when it's your turn. And for you, the listener, to listen from that place of curiosity rather than judgment, which is this, that we actually have a thing called co-regulation. It's part of our survival mechanism, that if I am really bristly and like this, you feel it. You don't just like guess what I'm feeling. Your body actually mimics my body. And that lets you know, ooh, there's something threatening here. You may not always guess why accurately, but you know there's something amiss. The same thing happens when you're with people who are in a friendly mode, when they are open and receptive and non-judging. So we as listeners have a responsibility and an impact on the people who are speaking to be there with an open heart. And that helps them feel safe and open and more able to really touch into what is important and dear to them in this experience. So by you being open and receptive, you receive that back, and it goes back and forth, back and forth. So this would be a time to practice not only sharing, but to practice real receptivity. And so you'll just turn around to whoever, make yourself in groups of 3. If you don't care to do it, just sit there and do it for yourself. Okay? And so we'll have 10 minutes to do that, and we'll be back in our seats at 1:30. Questions? Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. Thanks, Rachel's. You're being a very good advocate for those who are not here in flesh. Yeah, good. Thanks. Can you make me turn off? So we have just a couple more minutes. Make sure that everyone gets a turn who wants one.
totally not from then after I actually contemplate then I think about the difficulty towards the emotion was gone. Emotion was not attached. I just see the as desaturation. Then emotion rise, then
So thank your partners and resettle in our seats. While you all were doing your thing, I was just sitting here rocking. And that's one of the ones I didn't put on the wall, but that I find works for me often when I feel a little nervous or a little exposed like this. And it's so interesting how rocking like this feels, and feels so, just back and forth, just like my mommy holding me in her lap or something. But then I thought, oh, well, what about this? This is a whole different world. This, for me, this is curiosity. Oh, yeah. It's just so fascinating to explore this. So I have a few more things I want to say, but first I want to hear, what was all that like for you so far? The guided meditation and the emergency relief. What impact did that have on your difficulty? Yeah.
Showed me some of the things that were, of course, helpful, but even showed some of the things maybe even aggravate me.
Mm-hmm.
That from listening to the others, were maybe uniquely mine from my history, but or sensory experience. And also kind of pointed out like, oh yeah, when maybe like noises can overwhelm me and make me feel more stressed. Whereas maybe hiding from them or overwhelming with other senses can be more relaxing, and also a sense of control from the shapes and sort of reward gave me confidence.
Thank you. You make a really good point about, what can make you feel annoyed can make another person feel soothed. And so this is really a part of self-discovery. Yeah.
I felt that the table, I felt that table was going to be very hard, and it looked very, and I went to touch the table. I thought it was going to be very hard. It was very shiny. I thought it's going to be very, very hard and very cold. But when I touched it, it was actually very soft.
Ah,
I just let my fingers stay there for a while, and yeah, the table is very warm. I mean, it's made from wood. Wood is warm, but it was the shiny stuff that that threw me off. The shiny varnish made it look cold and hard.
and can you tell me if you're open to that? So how did that impact your difficulty?
Always that things look a certain way, but if we can feel them and touch them, like touching a heart, someone who is kind of cold to us, if we can touch them some way, touch their heart in some way. One thing I do when I have difficulty with someone, try to think of something I can do really nice for them. I had to wait sometimes for a long time, but eventually something will happen. And as minute I give up, the minute I give in, they give in.
So this is not the only kinds of practices. These are the kinds of practices that directly speak to our nervous system regulation. And we have a myriad of meditations, of kindness and of compassion, etc., that you learn over time that are also very beneficial for you. And they also regulate the nervous system. So these aren't the only ones, but these particular ones work when everything else is too much. You know, you say, oh, well, it might take me 3 weeks to figure out what I could do that was kind for them, but you needed to get your nervous system regulated because you were going to have a consultation with somebody in 10 minutes. You don't have time for that other more deep stuff. This helps you bring it down to the point where you can access the other kinds of practices that you do. This is not a substitute or a standalone lineage. This is how to regulate your nervous system, how to understand what these practices that we do in Buddhism are actually doing on a physiological level, because so many of us can make use of that information to buoy our practices. This is not a replacement for practice. Yeah, Suni.
Well, I noticed that I felt an element of choice, and that's because I decided to not focus on the thing that was the most difficult for me, as you suggested, and that was a very helpful suggestion. So then when I focused on this other one, and then I gave myself, first I went to the wraparound, and I'm even wrapped up quite a bit right now.
Yeah.
And the wraparound let me go maybe more to the thoughtful, reflective part of my mind who could say, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And it's really just fine. If you want to sit here wrapped up in this blanket, that's okay. That's you're going to get back. You're choosing to be here, and you'll get back in control. And then you can reach out and connect again.
Absolutely. This is the core principle of trauma-informed practice, is that you must have a sense of choice. And that this part is watching for that. If you don't have it, this is going to be in charge. And, you notice what happens to this when this is activated. This doesn't even exist anymore. And that's really what happens, is that when we have a sense of threat, then we can't have a sense of choice. And when we don't have a sense of choice, yeah. So other noticings or questions that you have? Yes.
Thank you. I do have a question and an observation together. I was really surprised
Well, maybe,
I
yeah.
was really surprised by how much the wall on my back felt supportive. And yeah, as we're sitting here, I'm very curious about that on a nervous system level, and realizing that I hold so much tension and maybe burden in my back. And maybe you could speak to the nervous system implications of the touch there.
You know, I'd have to think about it a while, but the beauty is it's not important to your nervous system why. When you leaned against the wall, it wasn't saying, well, now let me think. It just did it. And that's the purpose of these, is that we don't have this when we need these. So I'm not going to give you an answer. And also because I don't know the answer immediately. But that sense of grounding, it's like you've got one leg over the other. That creates a sense of grounding, whether we're doing this or we're doing this or we're doing this. That is a need that we have. It's basic to the regulation of our nervous system. And we know these things unconsciously, and learning them this way helps us grab them when we need them purposefully, because we might not be balanced enough to do it if we're not primed. But, our bodies know. That was the beginning when you were reading the purpose of this university, is that we're accessing inner wisdom. We're exuding it all the time, but we could exude it more if we were more conscious of it. So that's what this wall is doing for you.
Yeah, thank you. But speaking to the body and body language, right? Okay, thanks.
Hi. So I was really curious about a couple of things that didn't work for me that I was surprised about. And they were both the physical ones, sitting against the wall and pushing the wall. And I initially thought, oh yeah, yeah, these are great. And then I realized that it was amping me up. And it confused me because I typically use physical activity to settle myself. But I became aware that I have to do that for a while before I get settled. And as an emergency thing, it amps me up.
Yeah.
And so some of these other things that are not physical work way better for me in terms of an emergency response. Yeah.
So two things. One is, for some people, the emergency is that they're too low,
True.
and that pushing it against the
Oh,
wall can
good.
really be helpful.
Right.
Another thing is that there are issues in our life where it isn't safe to do what is needed. If you're at a demonstration and you're really angry and you express it, it can be life and death.
Yeah. Apparently.
I gotta.
Yeah.
And so that is in there. And it's likely to come out to the next person who gives you a poke. But if you go home and you start pushing against the wall and it amps you up, and it's from you just want to push the wall, then keep pushing.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you the sense of completion of what was unsafe. And so, yes, it's amping up, but it may end up that, then you're crying. And then you really get in touch with, whatever it is, and then it's over.
Got it.
Yeah.
I also just wanted to share, because it made me laugh, your rocking.
Uh-huh.
I had this memory of since I was in elementary school. Anytime I'm up in front of a crowd, I'm swaying, always. And that just speaks to my innate wisdom of this is scary and this is what I do. And it was kind of a cute memory.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
myself.
One more thing. I have a request for DRBU that you get more rocking chairs. I get a rocking chair. I grew up on the front porch. Everybody had a rocking chair, and the kids had a rocking chair. I mean, rocking chairs. We grew up with it. So my request, not plastic, wood, warm wood.
Wood for being soft, not being cold.
That sounds wonderful. I wanted to share a couple questions from the chat as well.
Okay.
Could you speak a little more? You started to mention that crying can arise naturally, and someone during the 30-minute meditation at the beginning said that waves of sadness and tears were coming forward. So can you talk a little bit more about why that might be happening? They were curious about why that was coming up.
Well, one thing is that when we're sitting and we get really relaxed, some of our defenses that have kept down some feelings, they come up. They can come up in tears. They can come up in images. They can come up in a voice. And that's something to be curious about if you have the capacity. That tears are normal. They express many different things, so you have to notice what it's made of, what thoughts, what feelings, what physical sensations. You go through the skandhas and ask yourself, what is this made of in this moment? And do I have the capacity to sit with it in a way that maintains my stability? And that unless you can maintain your stability, you get no benefit. That kind of morphs into one other, I think, very important understanding. Often in a mindfulness practice, we're taught to just stay with whatever it is. And that can be beneficial if you're stable, if you have the capacity to stay with it without it completely dysregulating you. But if you stay with it, whatever it is, and you do not have the capacity, then you are traumatizing yourself. You are dysregulating, you are doing something that is unkind to your heart mind. And I wanted, where is that? This is a little bell curve about practicing. And that when we begin to do a practice, let's say we're doing a concentration practice, we're just focusing on one thing and we concentrate and we increase our ability to concentrate until we get to kind of an optimum level of concentration. If you keep doing that concentration practice after you reach that optimum level, then you run the risk of dissociating yourself from your body, becoming rigid, becoming overwhelmed, and this is not beneficial. The same thing happens when you do a compassion practice. You get You get, oh, I feel so compassionate that I can't go outside without flipping out because I'm compassionate about the ants. I'm compassionate about this. It's like I can't function. All right. And the other thing is, we generally gravitate to practices that are kind of easy for us. So we don't start here with the practice, we start like here. So already, so you need a balance of practices. It's another finger pointing to the moon of this is a practice of the middle way. It's not getting extreme. So if you are practicing long hours, and you're doing it over and over and over again, and you're noticing that maybe this practice isn't benefiting me, that you need to find a way to get some help. Either you find a practice that's modulating, or for so many people, this is not maybe true of DRBU students, people are practicing as if the app is their teacher. They don't have a mentor. They don't have a community of practice where people share with each other how they're doing in their practice. So that practice isn't something that you just apply by yourself. The Buddhist practice is the Buddha. You have Buddha nature. You can optimize it more. Dharma, there are all these practices. But Sangha, you must practice with a Sangha. It's not an individual matter. And that there can be pitfalls, really big ones for mental health, to practicing inappropriately. You can trigger your own previous traumas, and you don't know what to do with it. Suni, do you want to say something?
I want to really recognize, acknowledge, and validate exactly what you're saying. It is so true, and I have experienced all of what you're saying myself. And it means that I myself need to be cautious, exactly how you are describing it. So I really, what you just said is almost the most important thing for me to have heard today.
There's Brown University had an experience where they opened their graduate programs or their programs to Westerners who went to the East to study meditation and ordained and came back and were having a really hard time adjusting. And they opened this like a dormitory for visiting monastics, and they found that many of those were really suffering from some sort of adverse effect of meditation. This is like 2-3% maybe of the population, but when you have hundreds of millions of people dabbling with meditation on an app, you're going to have a lot of people in deep doo-doo. And so they had this house, it was called Cheetah House, and it got stuffed with people who were having problems. And so they closed Cheetah House and they went online and they did all these studies on adverse effects, and now they have a whole set of support services for people who have adverse effects of meditation. They get something like 2,000 individual new hits a month. And they provide counseling services and they provide peer services, and it's called cheetahhouse.org. And there's an immense amount of wonderful videos, and it's a great resource. And that doesn't mean that all of this turns us into dissociated, looped out people. The vast benefits of practice. But we need to know these things. You know, if you do something to change your brain chemistry and your brain structure by taking a drug, you want to know that in advance. Well, meditation does that too. You want to know that in advance so you can be wise. One more thing I want to say in the last few minutes is that Buddhism is a service-oriented practice. We don't just develop our mindfulness, our compassion, our gratitude, our generosity, so we can just feel good. We develop it so we can be of benefit to others, to bring real liberation to all beings, including the earth. If we don't have individual stability, then we can't do that. But if we only have individual stability, then we don't know how to get along with each other. And we don't practice in a group to actually go out and do something beneficial. Then what's the point? So I give a little plug to my book. The beginning of the book is about getting stable. The end of the book is about looking at the collective as an organism that has a nervous system that can be regulated or dysregulated. And then you know how to go out into the world and be effective in the things that you care about. And you know how to, ooh, I'm feeling a little dizzy. No, I probably need some water. The late Buddhist teacher Jo-ann Rosen had a formula for grounding ourselves in gratitude, in something that brings a sense of well-being to us, of having that be foremost to create stability, but then to learn how to hold the pain of the world is by doing these practices of little by little stretching that window of tolerance of difficulties so that real caring, intimacy happens when, or caring happens when you really amp up your ability to be intimate, to be close, to handle a lot of pain and suffering that's going on in the world. Because coming from our caring gives us a lot of courage to go out into the world in a way that's peaceful and not in a way that's dysregulated. So that's kind of the point of our practice. And there are many ways to do it. Some do it in their homes. Some do it in their workplace. Some do it out on the streets. Some do it with other kinds of organizing. But it's so important now for us to develop our stability so that we can serve. So I know it's almost time. Yes?
It is indeed. Well, thank you so much, Jo-ann, for providing us with a really vivid and embodied sense of how to bring this practice home into our lives. I know as someone who doesn't really like public speaking, I'm really enjoying the feeling of the earth supporting me right now. We've put together a little gift bag for you to say
Oh.
thank you. There's some Dear BU swag in here, a bookmark hand-painted by one of our students, and a gift for your gardening that a tool that I think you needed based on something I remember you saying one time. And for those of you who don't know, Jo-ann is actually a resident of Ukiah, and so hopefully we'll be able to maybe have a part 2 of this workshop at some point. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for joining us, all of you in person and all of you online. If you'd like to join us again, stay tuned for more emails. We have an event coming up on February 17. It will be with Reverend Hung Sher. For those of you who have never had the pleasure of attending an event with him, it is a really enjoyable experience. He is as profound as he is fun oftentimes. You'll probably even get an impromptu banjo song woven into his otherwise relatively serious lecture. That'll be February 17, and he'll be speaking. We'll send out an email with more details to all of you. And he'll be speaking on both the art and the challenges of translating Buddhist texts and Buddhism into a Western context. So yeah, very, very interesting insights for everyone here. And if you have any questions about Dear BU, I see maybe a couple new faces. You can come talk to me about how to be more involved with Dear BU going forward, or about the degree programs. There's also a bunch of free information in the back. You can grab whatever speaks to you. And if you have more questions for Jo-ann about what she talked about today, or about how to be involved in her workshops coming up in the future, or her 16-part online class that really delves deeply into the book, you can go speak to her over there, and you can also take home a copy of her book today. I heard she's even willing to do some signings if you ask nicely.
We're not just taking home books.
Well, purchasing a book to take home. We've got to support our author here. Thank you so much.
Don't go away, because I generally like to start and end anything that I do with some music and dedication of merit. So this is a song called Dedication of Merit by Eve Decker, and I will play it, and then I will say a few words, and we'll have some bells, and then to stand and bow to each other and to offer the merit. Is that okay? We're going to go over like 3 minutes. Okay, here we go.
May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of
one bell to stand up. May whatever happened today be of benefit to you. May you take something away, turn around and teach it to someone else, so that the goodness of whatever happened today can ripple out into all the 10 directions to bring a little more safety, a little more gratitude, a little more awareness of awe, a little more peace to all of life's creatures. We bow to each other. And we offer the merit to the world. That's it.